Mr. Kurzwelly. We are aware of um, a special place on the European map called Slubfurt, the union of Slubice and Frankfurt am Oder. We know that there has been a lot of cross-border engagement in that area. Could you please make some kind of map or description what has been going on in Slupford? What is the history of this special identity or reality which you create in Slupford? What are its organizations, institutions, etc.?
Yeah, it's a long topic. I could talk for hours about it because I'm doing this yet since 23 years. I started in 1999, and at that time, the border here was still the outer border between the European Union and the East. So Poland was not in the European Union yet at that time. And I started doing this because I lived before. I'm from the German side. Originally I come from Bonn, and in 1990 I moved to Poland, to Poznań, where I lived 8 years, and then I from there I came here to the border. And I very much like this idea of being in between because I felt and still feel myself in between. If you live a long time abroad, then you start changing because you adopt to the culture in which you live, and also you do not fit anymore totally to the culture you come from. So it is you're kind of in between. I never became totally Polish, but also I adopted lots of Polish identity parts, so it made something with my own personal identity. Also, living 3 years in France before that yet did something with me. So the idea of creating Swoopford was first this very personal idea of saying my identification space is not Germany and not Poland. My identification space is in between. So I took the first half of Słubice, which is not Slubice but Słubice, because this Polish sign, this L with a line across, you speak it like a W, like why what. So Słubice, swoop, and the second half of Frankfurt makes Furt, so Swoopfurt. And that is how I started. And then I created an association together with other people here from Swoop and from Furt. And the association got the name Swoopfurt. Unfortunately, it is not possible to register one association, which then is registered in all European countries. So that is why the association is registered on the German side. And then later we created a second association, which is now registered on the Polish side with the name Lebuza Ziemia. And yeah, but the main focus, the association is only a tool for us to create projects, to get fundings for these projects, and then slowly we developed first different kinds of substitutes of the city, of the tools that national state uses for creating identification, like the coat of arms, like the Olympic Games, because if somebody runs with the flag on its breast and wins, then a whole nation is proud. Thousands of people are proud, but only one people won, in fact. We used all these tools to show how ridiculous Monty Python-like is national state. So our idea is not to create a new state, but to in question existing state. And so idea started to develop Swoopford first with the substitutes, and then, but if has to come alive, then you need people who take part in it. So I created a participatory project out of it, providing the first local elections of Swoopford, where everybody could come to speed datings, creating new parties, which were, of course, cross border parties. And then we made the first elections, and we had 7 parties in our parliament, in our first parliament. And then it changed during the years. Now we have even no more parties. Everybody who comes to the parliament meeting is automatically a parliamentarian and has got a voice. And then in 2012, we adopted the first area in the very center, beside the bridge between Frankfurt and Swoop and Fürth. And we called it Brückenplatz, Platz Mostowe. And we were there for 4 years, 5 years, and then we had to move to another place because they wanted to build a shopping mall in that place. So we got this old sports hall in which we developed since 2016. So we are there yet 6 years, um, and there we created a kind of solidarity society in between, where everybody who comes automatically becomes a swoopfurter and has got a voice. Everybody who engages for a longer time gets the key so they can open the door themselves. And we gather the different ideas what people want to do and try to support realizing these ideas. So we have, for example, things like a free shop where you can get things you need and bring things you don't need anymore. And we have got a repair shop where you can repair things that are broken. Mainly now, right now we have bikes, and we have a garden claiming project outside, so everybody who likes can get a piece of garden and let their plants grow there. And we have different parties. We have now, next week we are going to have a Moroccanian evening. We have got lots of refugees who came there because they were searching, looking for a place where they could feel free, and they found that our place is really giving them this idea of freedom, that nobody comes to tell them you have to do this and to do that to integrate, because we are very glad for everybody with all their different cultures to come, because they will enrich us. So now I spoke a lot, I think. I don't know.
Okay, I'll try to make you spoke a little bit more, if you don't mind, because you said parliament. There is a parliament of Slubfurt. In what ways this is what is called citizen assembly, a kind of democratic innovation, which, however, is not a juridical parliament. It's more just maybe some kind of gathering of people. And in what ways is it really resembling a constituent assembly which adopts certain laws, or maybe has budget, or maybe takes some decisions about some resources?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Of course, we have no taxes in Swipford, so we have no steady budget, and in fact, we live from project to project. So the budget which is there depends on the project, and but the parliament is a kind of tool. A kind of gathering, but also in a way an assembly, because people there can decide about different things that we want to do together on this Brückenplatz, for example. And there we can take bigger decisions, but also we have got once a week the so-called Stammtisch, a place that people can come just like this to discuss, to have tea or coffee together, and then to talk about something. And often there come ideas are coming out of it, like this, for example, Amira. She comes from Morocco, and she proposed to make a Moroccanian evening with cooking and showing some parts of their culture and so on. So we said, okay, that's a nice idea, let's do it. And some others want to organize a Polish evening and an Afghan evening and a Cameroonian evening. Um, and So it is, in a way, we have this kind of parliament all the time. So because everybody who comes, who sits down with us, is seen as somebody from us. We try to be an open society where we create a common us for everybody who comes and just joins us.
Okay, in the end of October 2022, in Slubfurt, there was uh, an attempt to expand this culture of cross-border cities or twin cities, and a number of representatives from various twin cities in the EU came. Could you tell us, basically in brief, what happened at this event, and what are your takeaways or conclusions or discoveries from it?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Maybe I should first explain what is Nova America, because since 2010, Swupford is the capital of Nova America, and Nova America is a description of the whole Polish-German border region. Why Nova America? Because we found out that Frederick the Great, the Prussian emperor, he dried out the muds of the Warta River where it enters into the Oder River. And at that time in the 18th century, he told the farmers who wanted to emigrate to America, to the United States, he told them to stay there, to that their new America is here, where were these muds, and that this is their promised land which they can develop. And then the settlements that came into being, they got names like New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New York, but also Saragossa, Jamaica, Sumatra, and so on and so on. uh, so I found this very interesting to say now the whole border region is our promised land, is Nova America, and Nova is new in Polish, and America we take the German writing, so it's a hybrid Polish German mixture, if you like. And the first network was this network that came into being, which was first a network of people between who tried to create a common space in between Poland and Germany at the Polish-German border. So we have some contacts too to Görlitz-Gorzelec, which also is a double town, or Guben-Gubin, which also is a double town. Um, so this was the first idea which was there. And then when I came in 2018 to Valga Valka, when Tanel Rander invited me there, and later Miha Kosovel to Nova Gorica, Gorizia, the three of us, we thought how we can enlarge this idea. I thought that Nova America could be also a description for all European border regions. To say that here we create new areas in between, which are all cross border areas, because we deny the idea of national state. And so this was the starting point to create a project called Transbordering Laboratory. And then we thought, what should we do within this idea? How can we develop this idea of spreading Nova America in all different European border regions? And we applied together. It ran through the Association of Swupford, but the application was written by Tanel, Miha, and me. And we thought about making each of us two residencies in two other European double towns, which then we did, and to create a final installation, which also we did. You saw the photos of the yurt that we constructed as an installation, which then, as a nomadic concept of identification or identity, can travel through the different border regions of Europe. And we decided to make a conference to invite people we get to know in these different double towns, to create to talk about what could join us, what could link us, and how we could continue. And so we had this conference here at the end of October in Swupfurt, in the Collegium Polonicum. And I'm very glad that we had a very fruitful and positive, creative conference there. and we have so many different inputs from presentations and energies from all these people from other double towns, especially not from administrations. We do not want to have administrations. We were seeking from the beginning on for artists, for people involved into culture, for individuals and NGOs, let's say, because we want to be open for all individuals who would like to join us and NGOs. And this worked out. And now we have a network called a Transbordering Laboratory. And hopefully, this network will grow and we will develop common projects together to develop a cross-border border region Europe. If we call it Nova America, this depends on the people. No, we do not want to push everybody to call their border region Nova America, but we have the signs of the Nova America embassy, and who likes to have the embassy, then the ambassadors can come there and can leave their sign, and we will enlarge our network of Nova America embassies everywhere.
Okay, I took note that you seem to be puzzled by the frequent usage of the notion of bridge of friendship by people who are coming from eastern part of the EU. So I was curious to ask you also, don't you think that it's much easier for such utopian, or how can I say, innovative project such as Nova America or such as Slubfurt to take? It is easier to take place on the borders of Germany, but when somebody tries to do it in a peripheral zone of the EU, which are maybe most of the regions of the eastern part of the EU, what do you think changes in these cases?
Well, our idea was never to make it very easy for us. We wanted to explore border regions of very different qualities. That is why I went also to Lefkosia, to Cyprus, to Nicosia, and explored the buffer zone there. There it is a very, very hard border. Or Maria Kopitova, who came from Narva, which is bordering to Ivanogrod in Russia, which is a very hard and close border too, because our idea is one thing is utopian, but I would call it heterotopian because we are realizing it yet. So we will see it. Every context is a different context, and in every context we have to develop the cross-bordering or trans-bordering laboratory differently. And therefore this is a very interesting challenge to go through, and I think we should join all Eastern European, Western European, Southern European, Northern European areas in this network, because to find out that in fact we are one Europe, and maybe later it can even enlarge into other spaces. So let us see what happens. I know I would like to also involve people from let's say the Ukrainian Moldavian border, or the Romanian Ukrainian border, or whatever. It is open. It is not. We just began with something, and we had Haparanda Tornio, which is northeastern Europe, if you like, yeah, Sweden, Finland, and you would say it is Western because it was part of the Western system, let's say. But for me, in my idea, we have yet overcome this idea of East and West. I've been living 8 years in Poznan, and I'm still here, where I'm every day moving from one side to the other. I speak fluently Polish, and well, you can see that it's also not Eastern Europe anymore. But this is the question, how you define it. Where does end the West and where begins the East? I think this is not so important right now, because if we want to face our future challenges, then we need to cooperate, get into solidarity and develop things together. So everybody from any border region, even if it is closed and only one side right now can meet us, then you are invited to join us.
Okay, let's finish with this question. There is certain element of democratic innovation in both in Slubfurt and in Nova America and in this replication on EU level of these projects. Do you read or do you interiorize certain theory on these issues like democratic innovations or cross-border existence, or do you even produce theory of yourself, political theory or whatever theory about living as a cross-border person?
Yeah, on one hand, I'm not a philosopher, but I found out while cross-border working here in Swupford that in fact reality, our social reality and society reality, is a construction, is constructed by human beings. You can see that birds give a shit on our borders that we have constructed. Yeah, so I call this construction or constructing reality as an applied method, which means you can have lots of theories about national state as a construction of reality. In fact, if nobody will believe anymore that Germany exists, then Germany will stop existing. This is quite natural. And if you see backwards in the development of the world and the societies of the world, you see that they all evaluated in different ways, which also means that they all can change in different ways. And especially now, facing climate change, it would need to get into a worldwide solidarity and worldwide cooperation to get out of these kind of egoistic, narrow-minded, national-wide solutions. Of course, if you hear this, you would say, "Oh, this is not. This is really utopian. This never will happen like this." But somebody has to begin with this, and I think we can, with our network, we can begin with this to provide another kind of understanding of what is being together than this national state being together. So there is a theory coming out, which is my, let's say, construction of reality as an applied method. Everybody can call it differently. I just found this name for me as a kind of social sculpture, which is all the time proceeding and changing in a never ending process. So any final result will mean death.